So the next of kin is basically the person who will inherit your property or your estate, like I've explained, once you pass on. The law of succession is clear that, they call them houses or units. So property should be divided or distributed equally among the two households. Unless there's preference, let's say wife number 1 has 5 children and wife number 2 has 2 children or 1 child, and definitely if there was no will, then house number 2 will get a smaller share for the obvious reasons. You only have 1 child. House number 1 will get a bigger chunk because they have more people for the property to be distributed among.
Always a pleasure coming to you every single Saturday. And of course, this show is the family edition with yours truly. And of course, I have one and only Nyokabi GK Kamau. Good evening, Nyokabi.
Good evening, Ellie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thank you. And tonight we have an interesting one.
Yes.
For a long time, I've always thought I'm a parent, but I'm told tonight I have to discover I'm not just a parent, but there's something called parenting. That is the topic of discussion tonight. We want to invite each and every one person to be part of the discussion. Remember, the hashtag is Art in Heart, because this program is proudly sponsored by Art in Heart. Nyokabi.
Yes.
Tufungue kazi. What is parenting? Yes.
I know, and that's the big question, Ellie, that we need to ask ourselves. What is parenting? Before I can get into what is parenting, let's talk about being a parent. Who is a parent and what makes you a parent? A parent is anybody who has sired a child. I want to use the word sired a child, meaning, because this is an all viewer edition. So if you have sired a child, you are a parent. Whether you're present in the life of this child or you're not, you are a parent because you have sired a child. But that does not mean that you're playing the role of parenting. When it comes to parenting, there is a role, there's a responsibility, there's an obligation. And that's the difference between being a parent and parenting. Okay, so a parent is just the concept or the idea of siring a child, of participating in the act of bringing in a human being to this world. But when it comes to parenting, there is the issue of the development of this child, not just physical, not emotional, not sexually, not intellectually, but the whole being that makes this child who they are. And that is what parenting is. Guiding this child through the walk of understanding their physical development. When I talk about their physical development, I'm saying a child is growing from an infant to a young child, to an adult, to a teenager, to an adolescent, to a youth, to a young lady, to a bride, to somebody, to a wife. That is parenting, walking them through the physical changes. When it comes to the emotional bit of a child, emotions is the internal part of this child. As a parent, as you're parenting them, are you developing the emotions of your child by allowing them to cry? That is number one. Allowing them to be happy, allowing them to feel jealousy, allowing them to feel selfishness, allowing them to incorporate all the feelings that are there. You're allowing this child emotions to grow. That is parenting. We will be talking about how we do these things actually as a parent. How do you develop your child's emotions? How do you develop them physically? How do you develop them socially? Socially, as a parent, you allow your children to go out to play. And on that note, I have an example. I don't want to forget this example. Ellie, I used to live at a place. I used to have a neighbor who had this 5-year-old who could not speak, who could walk, who couldn't do anything because this child was always locked in the house. So socially, the parent wasn't allowing this child to participate in social activities, such as allowing the child to go outside to play, going to school. And it got to a place that we, as neighbors, we became very concerned because this child would wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning to cry and wail, and we wanted to know what was happening. So we involved the owner of that property we used to stay in, and we said, you know what, we want to know what's happening with this child. So when we invited the lady to a meeting, we asked her, hey, why doesn't your child come out to play? Why doesn't your child? Oh, she said, oh, I feel my child is retarded. The child was not retarded. It's just that he wasn't being given the opportunity to socialize and to develop social skills, such as talking and playing and participating. There is the intellectual development. What programs are your children watching in the house? Are they developing them intellectually? When it comes to intellectual, we're talking about the mind. So parenting involves all areas, or it touches all areas of a child from the point of infancy to adulthood. And parenting does not come to an end. If right now I need advice, yes, if I need advice, I have a parent who I go to. They may not necessarily be my biological parents, but they're the parents I go to and I sit them down and I ask them, hey, since mumeishi kwa hii dunia miaka nyingi kuniliko, this situation, how would you deal with it, given that you have been in this world for longer than me? So there is that aspect of parenting does not come to an end. So parenting, and to be a parent, to be somebody who is parenting, you don't have to be the biological parents of this child. You don't have to have sired the child, but you can't parent without being the biological parent of this child. I don't know whether, Ellie, we have laid a good foundation for our topic today.
Well, I hope we have. And for those who want to get more explanation of this, of course, I invite you to be part and parcel of this discussion. Remember,
Yes.
we are discussing parenting, and
Yes.
why is this informed? Because we realize with time and age and change of environment, of course, both physically and socially,
Yes.
there is need for this discussion. And somebody will ask you, Nyokabi,
Yes.
how easy it is to parent in this new era with social media here, things happening there, lockdown, and now you guys are all over in the house. How is it or difficult is it for parents?
It's quite challenging. Let's say it's not difficult, but it's quite challenging. It's quite challenging in the sense that we are in a world that we weren't in before. I don't know why my laptop is not charging. A minute, Ellie. We are in a world where we are not living like we were not living before. Things have really changed. There's the issue of internet and all those things.
Yeah.
Ellie, can
Do
you
you
be
want
saying
some
what?
time? Do you want some time for you to fix that, Nyokabe? Definitely, we give Nyokabi some time. Of course, I want to invite you to be part of the discussion. Remember, we are talking about parenting, and parenting 101 is the topic of the night. We have these shows every single Saturday, and it's a family-friendly setting. So invite your children to actually be part of this discussion. Then we can learn and know what exactly they think about us as parents. Meanwhile, let me just go very fast to the comment section, inviting you, Raila Kinyo Ongondo. Good evening to you, Fifi Pats, and Kiprop, and Kipro Roda, and Sheshwini James. I'm happy the ladies are here. And of course, be part of the discussion. Send in your questions as we engage you. Remember, we're equally streaming on Lawyers Reloaded. Okay, Thriving Lawyers Reloaded. So find us there and share the link. I think Nyokabe is back. Good evening once again. Are we ready?
Yes, my laptop is charging now. You see, even the light has come back.
Yeah, you look brighter. I think you have a brighter evening this night.
Yes, I don't know why it wasn't charging. Now, Ellie, I was saying it's very difficult to be parenting right now because first of all, the world has changed. When we were growing up, Ellie, things were very different. First of all, a parent was viewed as an authority and not somebody to be played with. Number two, the society at large played a very key role in parenting, in how we developed and how we grew. For example, in our community, if somebody who is unequal, is an age mate to my parent, found me doing a mistake, they would immediately address that mistake. They would correct the behavior. However they did it the wrong way, but they would participate. They would correct the behavior, and then they would take me home, and I'll be held accountable for the mistake that I did on my way home. In the generation that we are living today, no parent wants their child addressed. No parent wants their child corrected. Even teachers, are not allowed to discipline their children. When I was growing up, teachers were feared more than police. Ulikuwa unaona mwalimu Eli, unaenda hivi mpaka unasimama attention kwa barabara, or you put your hands at the back like you're in a parade or you're in the school, because you knew you had to behave a certain way. So parenting at our time and this time is very different. So the parents of today, you're entirely dependent on yourself to raise your child. The development of your child socially, mentally, psychologically, emotionally is entirely dependent on you, because the parents of today, we don't want other people coming in to participate in the development of our children. We don't want our neighbors to correct our children when they make a mistake. We have this slogan of Kababa and Kamami. We don't want to discipline our children. So parenting has become very difficult at the moment. The other thing is that there's a lot of exposure for our children. When we were growing up, TV ilikuwa tu KCB. You only watch ilikuwa KCB ama ilikuwa
ABC. I think now, I think what you're doing, you're actually marketing your bank, but it's okay. It's okay for now.
Sasa, the only TV station that was there was KBC. There's only one thing you could watch, news. Now there's so much. There are so many TV shows of children answering their parents. The other day, I remember we were watching a program with my husband, and one of the child, I don't know what's up today.
Yes, Nyokabi is having quite a scenario there. I hope she's very I don't know, she's on fire. She's on fire because when it comes matters relationships and family, she's one of the people that advocates for such. Let's see, Nyokabi, are you chilled out now?
Yani tonight is one of those nights, Ellie. I don't even know. Everything is challenging. So anyway, like I was saying, in our time, the only station we had was KBC, right? And there was only one thing that was happening. There was just news. And the other day, I was given an example. The other day, my husband and I were watching a series, and there was this parent or a daughter, I think, an African American, and there was an episode that was happening, and the child was telling, the parent was concerned that the child is not talking to a certain girl that they are normally very good friends. So the parents meet on their driveway as they're dropping their children, and they say, hey, what do you know what's happening between our daughters? And the parents say, no, I don't know. And they say, so how about we do a movie night and with them, so that we can find out what's going on and we can be able to reconcile them. So that in the evening, when this parent is going to pick this child from school, and she tells him, oh, you know, we were not talking with the mother of so and so, and we decided. Now the parents are saying, we decided that you should have a movie night to have a conversation. The reaction of that girl, Ellie, ma'am, how could you do that? You can't do that. You can't make a decision on my behalf. You go ahead and have dinner with her or whatever movie night. Me, I'll not be present. And this is a teenager. And then she goes ahead. The mom had gone to pick her from school. She goes ahead and says, you know what? I'm going to find a different ride to go home. So our children are watching these things. And they are realizing that they are realizing that they can also voice out what they want. But how they are going about it is wrong, you know, because your parent is your parent. They are an authority to you, and a parent must know the difference between being a friend to a child and being a parent. There's a point you need to be a friend, and there's a point you need to be a friend. So you need to distinguish those two times, when you need to be a parent and when you need to be a friend. So it's quite challenging to really parent children in our day. It's quite challenging, Ellie, because of the exposure, because of the children rights. Now teachers are teaching children in school that you have your rights to your room, you can close your room. Sasa your room na ulipi rent uko unafunga nini? Can you imagine nowadays that I could close my room? Which room? Did you even have a room to close? You know? But these children of today, Ellie, they are sharper than us. They know more things than us. So it's quite challenging for us to really discipline our children and to parent them, especially if as parents we don't adapt to the world as it is changing, Ellie.
Awesome. And of course, I want to invite all of us again to this discussion because it's a quite heavy one. I see a lot of comments coming in, Nyokabi, and people asking, what do you expect with a different era? Because this one here says, well, I really don't think you expect your child to live on the same era as we. And I do agree. And that's why we're asking, why is it so difficult to do these things at this time and age? And you realize when your name appears on screen as Facebook user, it's because you're commenting from the Facebook group. You can equally tag your name and then we'll be able to see it on the screen. We have one more here that I would like to bring out, of course. Let's keep it for now, but let's get back to something interesting here in Nyokabi. You've mentioned quite heavy points, and I want us to question the listeners and the viewers on this one. Should we be parents first to our kids, or should we be friends? Where do we start? Which one comes first, the egg or the chicken, or the chicken or the egg?
They will tell us and we will find out. They should tell us, should we be parents first to our children, or should we be their friends? And I don't like using the word kids, and I've told you that many times, Ellie. For me,
Okay.
it's a child or children, because
Mhm.
kids is a baby goat. And
Yeah.
we are not rearing baby goats, we are rearing children, because what you
Mhm.
call them is very powerful. That's part of parenting. What you call your
Mhm.
children is very powerful.
Yeah.
It makes them or it breaks them. The words that you use to address your children makes them or break them.
Makes
So
sense.
what
Yeah.
we are asking our audiences today is to tell us, should we be parents first to our children, or should we be their friends first, so that we
Yeah.
can be able to balance between disciplining them and developing them as to be responsible citizens of this world. Ellie.
Exactly. So do
Yes.
send in your answers, and remember the hashtag is at InHeart. Meanwhile, I want to take you on this one. We hear about you relationship coaches and trainers. You tell us, you need maximum, you need quality time so that you can be able to understand your children. So what exactly is quality time with children, and how much is enough quality time, Nyokabi?
First of all, let me say that, well, let me first of all explain that quality time is a love language. It's part of the 5 main love languages. So
Mhm.
it's a way of expressing love. But what is misunderstood when it comes to quality time, Ellie, is
Yeah.
that people think that quality time is just sitting together in the house there. You're on your phone, the other one is watching a cartoon, the other one is playing somewhere, but all of you are in the house. You equate that to be quality time. In the real sense, that is not quality time together. Quality time together is coming together as a family unit, either father, mother, and the children, or father and the children, or mother and the children. So I want to talk about those separate family units. We start with the father and the children unit. So you see, the father needs to have his own activities that is present at the moment with the children. For example, we advise parents or fathers to play football with their children, to play
Mhm.
video games with their children, interactive games that are making them get familiar with their children and have conversation with their children. We encourage fathers to take their daughters out for dinner or for lunch or for an ice cream date, or even to the salon, drop them and pick them after. Just let them, let's introduce this child to how a man should treat a lady. We encourage fathers to take their sons to the barber. Do not allow your wife to be taking your son to the salon. Your son is not a daughter. He should not go to the salon. He should go to a barber shop. Let him sit there with you and see you being shaved and being washed, and let everything that's happening to you happen to him as well. Give him that experience of life. That is quality time together. You're present in the moment. You're doing activities that are engaging both of you. Play games that are intellectual, games that are fun, games that are engaging, games that are educative together, father and the children. Another family unit is mother and the children. We encourage mothers to invite their daughters into the kitchen. Teach your daughters how to be present in the kitchen, to clean, to cook, to do the responsibilities of a woman, because they can only learn that from you. A man cannot teach a woman how to be a woman. A woman must teach a woman how to be a woman. And so must a man teach a man how to be a man. So invite your daughters, fold your clothes with them. If it is not activities that are chore based, then they can be based on fun things. Go to the salon together, especially your teenagers. Take them to the salon with you. Let them also have their face done and their nails done and their hair made, so that you also participate in those activities. Let them select the hairstyles that they want to be selected. Give your voice, but allow the child the liberty to choose what finally goes onto their head. Have conversations. Now there's the complete now family unit of father, mother, and the children. Find activities that you can do together. Most people associate activities with going out and spending money. Not necessarily. In the house, within the confines of your own home, you can do activities that can help you as a family come together. For example, you can play cards. and play cards. Go, if you have a car, go outside together and watch the car as a family. If you have a family movie that you'd like to watch, sit together, pop the popcorns with a sufuria kwa nyumba, and just do it. It's cheaper, it's affordable. Pop the popcorns, watch the movie together, have authentic conversations. If you're spiritual, read the word of God together, let one of the children preach, let the other pray, interact at those levels, discuss things, discuss matters school, discuss matters home, discuss home responsibilities together as a family unit. That is quality time together. When it comes to quality time together, we discourage electronics, and electronics are TVs, phones, laptops, all those things, all those distractions. You have no choice but to hang out together, unless you're dancing, unless you're watching a movie, unless there's something you're doing together. The rest of the time, the electronics should be off. It should force you to have a conversation with your daughter. Hey, mom, unaendelea aje? Shule inakupeleka aje? And they should also ask you, mom, unaendelea aje? Job inakupeleka aje? How is work for you? They should know what's happening in your life every day. They should know, today I almost got into an accident, this and this happened. Parents are afraid to have conversations with their children. Talk matters money, with your children. Those are some of the activities that you can do together as a family. Assign chores and assign a payment. Come together and do a postmortem. So tulisikizana asubuhi, tunafanya general cleaning. Tukasema boys wanaenda basement, wanaenda parking lot, wanaosha magari. Who have done the best? Tukasema girls wanaenda kitchen, wana clean sitting room, wanapanguza nini. Who won? You can even form teams and do activities. You can flip it. Give the boys the kitchen and give the girls the mechanical work, and then come back in the evening and laugh about it. Let the boys cook for the ladies, and let the ladies do the manly stuff. And those are some of the ways as a family unit you can come together and spend some quality time together, engaging one another in conversations. Yes, Ellie.
Awesome. And remember, we are asking you tonight, where we have the audience participation question. We are asking you, should we be parents first to our children, or should we be their friends? Send in your response with the hashtag @inheart, because we'd like to know exactly what thinks who. If I go to the comment section, I already have quite a few of them. I will read this out. From Lucy Kapumpumu says, we should be parents first, then become friends.
Yes.
Probably because your boyfriend or husband is already your friend. Okay, cool. Thank you, Lucy. We have another one who says, being a friend because you need to earn their trust. Interesting. Flip side of it, you don't expect Idi Amin in the house and expect them to tell you when they have their first kiss. Interesting. I will leave that you to question and equally respond to later on. Let's see. It is tearful. Boys were confronted instead of being ashamed. We wouldn't be having many angry men struggling to express their emotions today. And I think that's when it comes to parenting. Let's see.
There's a question here, Ellie, that has been asked. I don't know. I'm looking for it by a Facebook user. And we were saying, how do you handle esteem issues in children? And I didn't want us to pass that question. I don't know whether you can see it, Facebook user, at 9:51 p.m. He's asking, or she's asking, how do you handle self-esteem issues in children? Now, just like a normal human being or a grown-up experiences challenges with their self-image or the way they perceive themselves or the way they see themselves, children also struggle with the same, especially children who are overweight, children who are late bloomers. When I say late bloomers, I mean children who take time to learn things and to understand things. Maybe they're not good in sports or they're not good in academics, and therefore the people who are around them are very good at these things, and these children feel like they're underperforming. Those are some of the things that contribute to children's self-esteem. Also, if your child is going to a very high esteem school and you're not able to maintain, you're not able to drop them with a Range Rover and everybody else is being dropped with a Range Rover and you just drop them with a Kavit, and you're putting your best foot forward to ensure they get the best education, and this is affecting the way they see themselves themselves, the first thing to do is to use words of affirmation, letting this child know that there is nothing wrong with them. As a parent, you have a lot of power over your child. You have a lot of influence over your child. You can use that influence positively or to strengthen and to build this child from within. I don't know whether you have been seeing these clips that have been going on social media of these young children, white children, coming out and saying what their parents have taught them to say. I am strong. I am brave. I am a conqueror. I am beautiful. I can do this. I can achieve that. You know, this child has been taught to recite those powerful words every day, to affirm themselves, to encourage themselves. And when you, as a parent, if you're actively involved in the life of your child and you constantly tell them, Mommy, you're very beautiful. God created you in a very beautiful way. Even when they underperform, you tell them, you know what? You did not perform to my expectation this time, but I know that you're capable to performing better. And I will help you to perform better. You keep building them by using words. Words are very powerful. Words can destroy and words can build. If your child is experiencing low self-esteem, build that area. If they think that they have a big forehead, always tell them, if you have it, flaunt it. Don't sugarcoat it, don't hide it. Let them own it, let them carry it with self-esteem and let them see it as a good thing. If they tell you, Mommy, I think my eyes are big, you ask them, what if everybody had small eyes? And you can even make fun and go like, imagine if your eyes look like this, would you even be able to see? The eyes that you have are beautiful, so that they learn how to own their weaknesses and their strength. Because self-esteem is not about taking away the weakness. It's not about ignoring that shortcoming. It's about acknowledging that shortcoming and living with it. If you have one short leg, if you keep saying that I have one short leg, and then somebody tells you, no, you don't have one short leg. Of course, you have one short leg. Your walking style can tell us you have one short leg. So to build that self-esteem is a practice of embracing that shortness, using it to your advantage, seeing it as something unique that you can do something exceptional with. So you strengthen it and it stops being a point of regret or a point of pain or a point of lowering your esteem, but it becomes a point of your strength by the words that you use. How you express those words to this child will help them understand that struggle that you're struggling with. If they're not well to do, tell them you're here. Every life has a season. There's a season to do well. There's a season to be talented. There's a season to be wealthy. Challenge them to aspire to be wealthy so that they have a motivation behind it and a goal and a zeal to achieve a certain goal. So they will always be focusing and saying, you know what? We are not, si drop yangu na Range Rover. But when I get to me, I'll be the one who will be dropping my son or my daughter with a Range Rover. So you aspire them and you give them that strength from within themselves. And as you will begin to notice that their self-esteem will begin to change. Ellie, we have another question here right down below. Our friend who is asking, what if you are a single parent? Do you mean we teach our boys to cook and clean and also play football? We will be coming, I believe, Ellie, we are prepared to address the issue of single parent. Ama, we said we will not address the issue of single parent today.
Well, it is a tough one, but let's save it for another day. But for this one, kindly take a quick response.
For this particular one, what if you are a single parent? Do you mean we can't teach our boys to cook and clean and also play football? What I meant when I say that it's only a man who can teach a man how to be a man, and it's only a woman who can teach a woman how to be a woman. Rather, I know that's where this question is coming from, is exactly that. That is what I mean. You're not a man, so you cannot teach a man how to be a man. Therefore, you must find a father figure for this child to teach them how to be men, to teach them how to do things a manly way, to think in a man way. So yes, it is very important for you as a single parent to realize that you cannot play both roles. It is important for you to discover that that's a weakness that can easily be turned into a strength if you position your brother, if you position your uncle, somebody who can come in and play the role of a father to the life of this child. Because the mistake that single parents are making, and it's not in a negative note, Ellie, is that they are thinking that they can be both parents. They can either be the father and the mother or the mother and the father. You can't be both parents. You need somebody else to come in to help you play that role very well. Ellie, have I answered that question?
I believe you have, and of course,
Yes.
this topic will handle it at a later stage in one of these sessions. Remember, we are discussing parenting 101, and the basic things that we take for granted, but they actually make a difference in our children's life. So do send in
Yes.
your questions and responses. But before we do that, Nyokabi, we're going to take a very short break, and when we are back, I want us to talk more about the important decision makings, when children should be involved or when they shouldn't. And of course, I also equally want us to look at taking responsibility as a child, because I'm told a lot of parents tend to
Yes.
cover up for their children's mistakes. Alafu kinakuwa ni kidonda ndugu.
Yes.
So we'll be right back after this break.
Am I the person supposed to be looking for you?
Mm-hmm.
You need to talk,
Unampigia simu leo, hashiki simu, kesho hashiki simu, ama labda akishika mnaongea kidogo anakuambia ngoja nifanye nini? Ni receive simu ya mtu mwingine, unaona?
Kama we've agreed on the projects I have and I have my own money. I have no problem yeye kuchip in whatever he has kama anataka, si ati I'm forcing him to do that.
Coming from Africa into Europe, people look at you as a not well formed. For example, taking dessert, taking appetizers, and then taking the main course. You see?
But watu wengi sana ni hiyo nakwambia, they really fake. Like, okay, si ati fake. Picha wana update, mapicha wanaonekana wako poa, so demand home itakuwa too high.
Life beyond borders, against the odds. Yes, against the odds. And of course, tomorrow night, we will be hanging out with this gentleman, Apostle Joseph Omondi, the Awakening Church, Nairobi. What is his story? Find out tomorrow on Ellie's Hangout. We are back with Nyokabi Kamau, and we are discussing Parenting 101. Before we took our break, Nyokabi, there are a few questions that I'd proposed we address. So let's start first with taking responsibility when a child makes a mistake. Because I'm aware, especially for working moms and working dads, most of the time we leave that responsibility with the house helps or house managers, domestic managers. And when we come and walk through the door and we find a mess, the first person to be questioned is this young poor lady who is helping make things run smoothly in the house. But we forget to equally hold our children responsible for their actions. Why is this the trend, and why is it a big mistake?
Number one is because we are trying to be cool parents. We were brought up very uncool. We were brought up in a very uncool way, Ellie. We were the children who, when the mother thought you have made a mistake, they'd beat you for the mistake you have made and the mistake you'll make tomorrow and the mistake you're thinking about. So they would beat you before the mistake would happen in hand. So what normally happens to that kind of a generation, you raise a generation that is afraid to discipline their children because they don't want to treat their children the way they were treated. Number two, we are trying to be too civil with our children. You want to be so civilized with your children. You want to be the best friend of your child, but you keep forgetting that this child is within your house or the confines of your arms and your loving arms as a parent for 18 years. After that, you release this child to the society, and we don't care how you brought him up. We don't care how you cared for him. We really don't care. What we want is a responsible Kenyan who can get along with everybody, who has developed socially, intellectually, emotionally, and can fit into the society like a normal human being without throwing tantrums. Now, as a parent, you cannot afford to be civil with your child. Your child should be responsible, number one, for their toys. Ensure that they know once you finish with your toys, please clean up. They should clean up and put their toys away. Your house manager should not be coming there to pick what are they called? Those small things they remove it, and you step on them, you find them in all the wrong places.
They're so annoying. I know. I've walked to some rooms and some clients, I'm sorry to say this, but you are like, why is this even a discussion? Yeah, because the house manager didn't come through. I find it disgusting.
It's not the responsibility of the house manager. It is the responsibility of your child to take care of their own things. What you're doing by letting them collect their own toys and put them together is that you're teaching that child to be responsible. to be responsible with their own things, that even when they go to school, they're responsible with their pencil, their books, their rubber, their sharpener. They know where they are. The house manager ataenda shule kumtafutia kwenye sharpener iko ama kwenye rubber iko. It starts with small responsibility. Put away yourself, tidy up after you have finished all your activities. Encourage your children to tidy up. Have a tidy up session. Show them how to organize their toys and put them away. So before you even talk to your house manager, observe the mess that is in the house has been caused by who. You know, for some reason, children have this thing of removing cushions from the seat and developing and building their own sofa sets at the corner of the house or all over the corridor. But
I'm laughing because I suppose you visited my house at one time, but it's okay.
so aka shetani sijui kanatokanga wapi Eli, but as a parent, when you come home, instead of asking msichana wa kazi, hii nyumba kwani inakaaje, ask the children, hey, where do you want me to sit? Where do you want your father to sit? Can you tidy up? Put back the cushions. If you remove them, you put them back. All right. And create a play area where it's for them. It's their responsibility to get it clean. It's their responsibility to tidy up. It's their responsibility to put things away. So when you're doing this, you're developing the child. You're teaching the child. The child is learning responsibilities of life, because this house manager will not go with them to campus, will not go with them to high school, will not go with them to primary school, will not go with them into the houses where they'll get married. So this child must learn how to be responsible and to take care of the things that they have. So it is important as a parent, you don't become afraid. Your child is not going to hate you. Even if they tell you, I hate you, mommy, I don't love you, you're not even my friend anymore. They're just playing with your psychology so that they don't do the task that you have given them. But they cannot be able to hate you. So tell them, I am showing you this so that you become a productive Kenyan in the future. Si kusema tunaomba serikali kila saa tunaomba serikali. Take responsibility for your things and stop asking us to help you with your items, Eli.
You know, in Nyokabi, as you mentioned that, there's another part of it that you equally said in your introduction, Max, but I want you to dip into it further. And this is about decision making. We realize that our society is continually changing and embracing some things and ways of life. When do we involve our children in decision making, especially important family decisions? Should we consult them, or should they just sit and wait for things to be executed?
Okay, first of all, when they sit and they wait for things to be executed, you're not teaching this child about responsibility. Decisions that affect the child should be involved. If the decision you're making is going to affect that child, the child should be involved. For example, if Kamau and I decide that Wairimo should not go to Furaha Primary School anymore, we don't go to Furaha Primary School, me and Kamau. We don't know the friends that she has there. We don't know the teachers that she's close to. So if we make that decision because of finances or for whatever reason that we feel maybe kizungu yake si mzuri, there's a reason why as a parent you're feeling this child should move from this school. Involve the child. Tell the child, hey, come sit down. We want to move you from this primary school to another primary school, and explain to the child why, and give the child an opportunity to argue their case. Give the child an opportunity to debate and to challenge your decision. So let's explain to the child, honey, we are removing you from this school because number one, you're not performing. We are not seeing that you're improving, or it's very difficult to drop you and to pick you from school, and give this child a chance to actually fight for the opportunity to remain in this school. They will even be more motivated to be present in that school. So let them engage you. So if the decision is affecting the child, especially directly, let the child be involved. Let them participate. Let them come together. Let the child know the decision you have made. Go on the journey together. Do not drag your children into it just because you're the parent. You just come and you push them. Not with the generation that we have today. A child will resent you for transferring them from a school they were attached to a particular teacher, or they had a particular friend that they were close to, or they thought they would achieve a certain thing, and you just transfer them and they resent you. And when they move to the other school, they refuse to cooperate because they're the ones who are in those schools. So if the decision is affecting the child, I insist and I emphasize, involve the child and have a conversation with this child. You'll teach this child how to have conversations, how to express themselves, how to stand up for themselves, how to debate out their issues. This child will let you know, you'll teach this child how to deal with their emotions. There's a lot of lessons that come from those kind of decisions where the child is involved. You give this child an opportunity to express themselves as well. And the child feels loved, and the child feels heard, which is very important to a child, to the development of the child emotionally and intellectually. Ellie?
I would like you to address this question, rather comment.
Teaching them all that is called education. I am amazed. I'm amazed to see that nowadays parents don't even allow their children to walk to go to school. They must be dropped by car. But when you were young, did you suffer to walk or take the bus to school? Well, like we said, there's one of our very royal members there who said that we can't expect our generation to be the same as that generation then. Then we used to see one vehicle passing, sometimes two vehicles. Now there are so many vehicles, you don't want to risk leaving your child to cross 3-4 roads. Like now for me, I live almost on the highway. So if I'm to let my child to take themselves to school, it means I have to take a risk of allowing my children to cross the highway every day. So you see, these are some of the things we are taking into account. There's there's also a lot of child abduction that's going on. People are stealing children every day on Facebook, missing child. You want to ensure that your child is safe. As a nation, we are feeling very unsafe. So there's a lot of things that are playing very key roles into why the children are being picked by buses and being taken to school and being dropped back home, or being dropped by parents and being picked by parents, and the child is assisted to cross the road by the guard. So those are some of the things that are playing a very key role that's disenabling us to release our children, because also the country has also developed very much. So we are cluttered, we are congested, so we can't really afford. But there are also parents who are going on with the same, and their children are going to school and coming back and becoming very responsible citizens. So single parents, especially women, should be very careful while raising their children, especially boy child, in matters makeup, dressing, etc. They will turn into something else when they grow up. And that's why we say that you cannot teach a man when you're a woman. A man must be taught by a man how to be a man. And that's why we emphasize that single parents must always have somebody who is representing the parent who is missing in that relationship. So involve the children in matters related to them. Thank you so much, our Facebook user. I always hold a meeting with my children when it comes to important decisions. That's very important. And children feel like they're part of the family and they're involved, and that's a very important feeling. Ellie, back to you.
Yes, I would like for you to give me a few more points on this issue, Nyokabi. And the issue is, we have identified that you have to discuss with your children and, negotiate stuff here and there. But then again, and this is something we've already discussed in our previous sitting, but I will feel it fit to have it in this sitting, where when do we bring in disciplining? And in this case, I've heard this theory in the African society that our children have some strange influences, that they don't listen to the mouth. They prefer the rod. What is your take on that?
Whenever I talk about discipline, I like to talk about discipline by first of all explaining what is discipline, because discipline is one of the things that is very much misunderstood, and there's a very thin line between discipline and abusing a child or breaking the spirit of the child. So I first of all want to explain the basis of discipline and what is discipline before we can discuss at what point do you discipline the child. So when it comes to discipline is correction of behavior. Discipline is not spanking. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is not verbal abuse. Discipline is not emotional abuse. Discipline is correction of behavior. What am I saying? For example, I have made a mistake. I picked this phone when I shouldn't have picked this phone, and it was wrong for me to pick this phone. So the action of discipline that I have decided to correct this behavior of picking the phone, number one, is that first of all, you need to know what is wrong with what I have done. I have picked the phone. And therefore, because it is socially unacceptable to pick the phone, for example, stealing, screaming unnecessarily, crying for no reason, taking all your toys and throwing them around the house, some of those things that cause us to discipline our children, refusal to go to school and refusal to finish your assignments. How do you talk to older people than you? Those are some of the things we discipline our children about. You must first of all give that correction of behavior a name. I am disciplining you because you took the phone. I am disciplining you because you did not go to school. I am disciplining you because you did not finish your assignment. I am disciplining you because you have not finished your food. So that behavior must be given a name before it is corrected. Now, when you're correcting the behavior, you don't address the person. You don't say, you Nyokabi uko na tabia mbaya because umechukua simu. You say the picking of the phone is what is wrong and not the child. Usimwambie wewe you're stupid like your father. That is not disciplining. Ati wewe ni mjinga kama mama yako. That is not disciplining. Disciplining is correcting the behavior. When you correct the right way, then you effect change of behavior. When you discipline the right way, you effect change. You are looking to change what that person is doing by effecting them, by giving them something that we call discipline. So discipline can be in so many different ways. You can either discipline them by giving them a timeout. I am giving you a timeout because you're misbehaving, and that misbehavior must be given a name. There is spanking. You cannot spare the rod. If you spare the rod, you spoil the child. And I said spanking. I did not say you beat them to death. Ati nakupiga nikuue wewe, ndakupiga ngumi wewe, unapiga ngumi is a child, you know? So beat the child properly. Beat the child the right places depending on the age of the child, because also beating the rod or using of the rod goes with ages. Okay? Kuna mtu akifika teenage uanza kumchapa makofi hapo na ni kijana, atasimama akwambia wewe madho usiniletee wewe. Ukinigonga hivyo tena usiniletee. You know, there's a stage that a child gets that. That spanking them really doesn't work. You need to have a conversation with them, and then when it comes to discipline, you don't discipline in anger. Whenever you're beating your child and you're angry, you're not disciplining them, you're abusing them. So disciplining is not effected in anger. It is effected in calmness and soundness. You're doing it, you know what you're doing, so that the child knows you know what you're doing. You call them, you stand there, you ask them, excuse me, why are you crying? Explain to me, Ellie, why you're crying. I'm crying because you have beaten me. Why did I beat you? You said because I was making noise and I was not supposed to make noise. So you have cried for how many minutes? Now it is time to stop crying. There is nothing wrong with crying. You have cried enough. It's time to stop crying. You can't cry more than that. Because as a parent, you need to develop the child emotion. You need to let them cry, but at the same time, to an extent, si ati alia hapo masaa matatu mpaka neighbors hawezi lala kwa sababu mtoto analia. You correct the behavior and it's not kubembeleza ati oh baba pole, don't cry. No. It's letting them know it's time to stop crying. Okay, because again, if you go like kababa, oh stop crying, now you have taken away the discipline you had given this child, and what you're doing is to try to correct the behavior of this child. So you tell them, you have learned, I hope you have learned your lesson, I don't want you to do that again, and now it's time to stop crying. Now wipe your tears, wipe your mucus, and pull yourself together because you are my son or because you're my daughter. And I did not beat you because I hate you. I beat you to correct what you're doing. So these are the things we are talking about when it comes to disciplining the child. So disciplining is a very involving activity that parents don't think it is. Parents think it beating a child. There's even a time I remember there's a parent who was telling me, mimi wacha nikwambie Nyokabi naumwa na mkono. Nikamuuliza kwa nini? Huyo mtoto nimemchapa mpaka naumwa na mkono. I told them, do you know this child will do the same thing? And not tomorrow. Today, when you get home, the child will do the same thing in umemchapa umeumwa na mkono. Nitamuua. I asked them, why would you say that? You know, are you looking to discipline this child or are you looking to abuse them? Wanataka kumuua ama wanataka correct behavior yenye anafanya? Why are you so angry? Why are you taking the behavior of the child personally? Right, Ellie? So I told that when you go home, sit the child down, communicate. Let the child know you broke the TV. You can't break. Now what are you going to watch because you broke the TV? So as a parent, when it comes to discipline, you have to communicate. However, the choice that you make or the way of effecting the discipline that you choose, you have to communicate to the child. And people ask me, Nyokabi, at what age should I start disciplining the child? Akiwa kwa tumbo. Anasikia na anajua. Unamwambia, it's time to sleep. Please do not kick me again.
I wish I could carry a pregnancy, then I will attest to that. But I don't know how that happens. Anyway, Nyokabi, a lot of good comments coming. A lot of good comments coming here. And let me just address this. If you're watching us from the Facebook group, because we are streaming on Thriving Lawyers Reloaded, you must agree to the terms and conditions of your privacy so that you can able to screen your name. Alternatively, as you write, say, this is my comment, and your name at the end of the message. Alternatively, come and comment from the YouTube page, rather the YouTube channel, or the profile Eli Likuyani. Then we can be able to see your name on the screen. Otherwise, you must agree to the terms and conditions. Then your name will appear as we screen the comments. This one here from Nancy Magen says, let's not forget to encourage our children for the positive things they do. And I think that's something I equally want to agree to, because most of the time as parents, we only see the mistakes and forget to applaud the good things our children do. There is this consistent, I would say, devil within our society called terrible too. And somebody actually talked about it. Let me just find it. Sorry, that wasn't supposed to be the comment. This is it. The terrible two tantrum. And I don't know why they call it terrible two, because Nyokabi, I will say, in my own experience as a father, I haven't experienced this, and because I probably did not allow that to grow. But do we have terrible two tantrums? And how then do you manage as a parent, Nyokabi?
Well, this is just an excuse, because when a child gets to 2 years, a child develops with stages, right? And when we were talking to the adolescents last time, we said that there's a stage that you develop a certain way. So when a child is at 2, at the age of 2, this is when the child is discovering how to pick things and drop them, and to run around the entire house and crawl out of the room, and unampata ametoa kichwa, amepitisha kichwa hivi kwa ni amechukua mbosho ameweka hapa, ukimpatia chakula kule anaweka hapa, because this child is at a stage of curiosity, of learning. This is now when reality, the effect of learning now becomes very true to them. Now they can be able to see, oh, hii ni kichana, what do I do with this one? They take the kichana, you find amechana nywele, amechukua makasi, amenyoa nywele, amechukua mafuta, amejipaka yote, amefungua wardrobe, amemwaga unga, amechanganya unga ya ugali, unga ya chapati na sukari pamoja, amekutengenezea chapo. This child is learning, is at the stage where they are truly learning. And this is when discipline, true discipline, begins to come out. This is where the testament of your ability as a parent to discipline a child begins to come out. This is where you tell the child, I have a friend of mine who came to my house and told me, TV imekaaje hapo na ijaangushwa. Hii radio, how comes bado iko hapo? How comes your remotes ziko na vifuniko na unaona batteries? It's about discipline. It's about directing the child. I told them, kwa kunanga remote, muna watching TV na nini? Ati back ilitolewa ikakuliwa sijui nini, the TV imejengewa grill ndio ising'olewe. I mean, seriously, just this is the stage where you're disciplining the child. You're letting know that when you tell the child, do not touch this thing, do not move it from there, because as a parent ukiwa sitting room unamwona tu akicheza na hiyo kitu hivi, anaifanya hivi, anaenda na anakuangalia, alafu anajificha aone unafanya nini. Because this is when they are testing you as a parent. You call them and you tell them, wewe, I'm telling you, if you touch ndakuchap, and when they do it, you beat them. You tell them, sinilikwambia, do you remember I told you not to touch this speaker? And you have touched it, and you beat them. If they lose the remote, can they find it? Because they know where it is. I have a nephew of mine. Whenever he comes to my house, the remote disappears. Eli. Namuliza, kababa, how come?
Yeah, you call him kababa. Okay, that's the problem. That's the first problem.
Because his parents call him kababa. I tell him, kababa, how comes whenever you come here, my remote disappears? Auntie, we have not touched your remote. I tell him, my son, please, can you go and bring that remote? Do you know, within no time, the remote comes back, but haina battery moja. I tell him, kababa, I am warning you, my son, please bring me the battery. And he goes and he finds the battery and he brings it. Sometimes the children just want to see how you're going to respond and how you're going to react. And I don't like to categorize and to put children in a class that ukifika form 2, that's when you begin to discover your sexuality, that's when you get pregnant. Kwani sisi hatu kutoka form 2 na tu kupata mimba. So don't put your child in that category of calling them in their terrible too. Discipline your children. Talk to your children. spank your children, explain to them what you don't want them to do, and communicate, right?
Yeah.
Akiingiza kitu hapo kwa hiyo nini space ya
Great.
stairs. Mami, Eli.
Yeah, you know, Nyokabi, why I'm laughing, it's because I've seen some of these things. And I remember my youngest brother at one point disappeared from the house. So we were all overlooking. And then we hear people honking, and we're like, why is somebody honking? Because it's been too much. So coming out, my brother head was in between the steering wheel, and he was, I think, he was breathing almost his last. So when you talk about people inserting their heads in grills, I totally know what you're talking about. Let's take two more questions, Nyokabi. We make them fast because also time is not on our end. There's one who says, at what age should the road be stopped? And we start talking things out like two grown individuals. And I think the word that strikes my heart there, my eyes there, it's grown. Ideally, there should lie the answer. But Nyokabi, what's your take?
But when there's a number 10, when their ages has 10 in it, the rodding should, the spanking should stop. At that point, you should have developed a relationship with this child to the point you can sit them down and have a conversation. If you give your children a voice, how do you give your children a voice? If you're going to buy Christmas shoes for your children at the age of 5, and I'm talking about at the age of 5, you should be able to ask them, what color of shoes do you want? Do you want open shoes or closed shoes? Do you want shoes with a small heel or without a heel? So these are the ways that you teach your child. No, by the time anakuja kuwa teenager, when you're stopping to beat them, you can have a conversation with them, and they trust you to have a conversation with them. That's how you build that relationship to get there, by asking them simple things. You ask them, do you want a ball or do you want a car? Chagua. Decide. By the time to talk a supermarket, uko umeniambia unataka mpira ama you can't have both, right? And when they decide they want a ball, which ball? You decide which ball do you want. Do you want a football ball? Do you want a basketball? Do you want a rugby ball? Decide which ball you want. Allow the child a space to make decisions, so that by the time they're getting to their teen, when you can no longer bully them into doing what you want, then they can trust you to have conversations with you. You can sit them down, umuulize, ulisema hauendi shule, unataka aje sasa? Because kwangu hautakaa kama hauendi shule. You know, as your parent, you cannot stay in my house if you're not going to school. You decided you're not going to perform. Okay, in my house, you're not going to stay if you're not performing. So tell me, what do you want? So that this child is at a place where they can be able to communicate with you and tell you, mimi sisomi kwa sababu. They give you a reason why they're not performing. They give you a reason why they're dressing the way they're dressing. You ask them, of the years that I have bought you clothes, mimi nishai kununulia tank top. Tushaingia kwa duka na wewe nikakununulia nguo inaacha tumbo nje. Where did you get that tank top? And why are you wearing it in my house? So these conversations don't start when this child is a teenager. These conversations start when this child learns how to talk, right? You ask them, it's time to eat. What time is it? It's 1 o'clock. What does that mean? It's time to eat. So where is your food? Sit down and do what? And eat your food. What happens if you don't finish your food? You don't leave the table. Okay. So you know that, so continue eating your food until you finish. So you develop those conversations even when you're not fighting with the child. You ask them, we are going to church on Sunday. What are you wearing on Saturday evening? Have you prepared what you're wearing? What and what do you need? A panty, a boxers, a vest, a top. What else do you need? I need a trouser or I need a dress. Do we go to church in trousers or do we go in dresses? We go in dresses. Okay. What type of shoes when we are going to? What type of shoes do we wear when you're going to church? We wear official shoes. So this child knows and I prepare vitu zake. So you're preparing this child by the time you're getting to their teenage, when they're starting to feel, sasa mimi I'm a grown up, I can make decisions for my own. You can be able to have a conversation. And if you haven't done it, if your daughter or your son has gotten to a place they're telling you, I'm a big girl now, you need to give room for that growth. Don't tell them, no, you're my baby. Tell them you're a big girl. What do big girls do? Okay. They eat their food and they finish.
Nyokabi, I know we can never expound on everything, but allow me to read and quickly respond to some of the messages from our audiences, especially this one here that caught my eye, but says, that's from Nancy Magan again. Thank you, Nancy, for your contribution. She says, in her opinion, that spanking won't solve the problem or teach the child better behavior. And I'm telling you this, don't you dare this in Africa. And that's my personal opinion, of course, because sometimes their ears have something strange in them.
Yes, you have to
and
spark things out.
you see, the thing is, if you were listening from the word go, we actually say there's a difference between actually abusing the child in the name of correct disciplining, and there is the point of giving them correctional discipline. So those are two different things that a lot of people tend to confuse. So allow me, Nyokabi, again, we are a family, and that's why we do family editions every single Saturday. And in one of these occasions, it's a rare thing that I get to do, but this is a story that moved me. There is this old man that I got to meet sometime. They were working as a traffic police officer in Nairobi, and I was stuck in traffic, and many years ago. And then they helped me out because my car had a tire burst. And soon I get to notice that this same man is in need. So his name is Joel Kiplangat Chebusuit. And he is currently at the ICU in Kenyatta University Referral Hospital. And we are doing a crowdfunding funding for him. So in case you are in Nairobi or around the world and you're able to access M-Pesa, kindly send in your contribution to account 46172. That is, the pay bill is 891,300. And if you get to my personal profile and my page, which is the Arts in Heart, of course, Likuyani Eli, you will see an option of sending in your contribution via by paying with your Visa card or MasterCard with the option that exists. That is on Mchanga. I'm running this initiative and I'm asking all of you to be part of it. It doesn't matter how much you have to give, because the bills are running at about 1.5 million going into that, and the family has exactly exhausted all the things in terms of finances towards that. He's a kidney dialysis patient, and of course, equally now in the coma with COVID-19. So in case you feel touched by this story, do go on the Mchanga option. I will post actually the link on my page so that you are able to give in whatever you are able to give. So back to you, Nyokabi. As we finish this discussion tonight, what are the thumb rules of being a good parent? And would you say you are a good parent, Nyokabi?
First of all, let me say that there's no parent who thinks they are good parents. Every parent is always questioning everything that they do as parents. And so long as you're questioning yourself as a parent, it means you're a good parent. It means you're present in the life of your child. It means you're concerned about them. It means that you want to do best by your child. The fact that you have these things in your heart and in your mind makes you a good parent. So the decision to be present, the decision to help your child to develop, the decisions to be there for your child make you a good parent. So there is no parent out there who is not a good parent unless you're an abusive parent. If you're an abusive parent, if you just verbal diarrhea towards your children, you're a terrible parent, because you're bringing up an abused child who is going atakuja kutusumbua huko kwa society. So you must be very sober as a parent, the way you deal with your children, how you correct them in the state of your mind when you're correcting them, and how you continue to carry yourself, because children see more than they hear. You know, if you want your children to read books yourself. If you want your children to pray more yourself. If you want your children to stop shouting yourself, because the children see more than they hear. So the way you carry yourself is how they will carry themselves. So as a parent, encourage yourself and say, you know what? I've put my best foot forward and I'm giving this child my best, and I trust that best that I have given them will lead them in the future. But if you're an abusive parent, I encourage you to seek help. If you find that whenever you're disciplining your child, you're calling them their names, you're associating them with the person that they're named after, you keep connecting them with the father or the mother of this child, please seek help so that you can be able to be a better parent than before. Eli, are you a good father?
Nyokabe, I believe I'm a good father because, one, I don't take nonsense in between discipline and making sure that I correct my children in the best way. But I believe sometimes I have those I keep dropping the ball, but again, I keep learning as I do it. For the rest of the viewers that are watching, I want to question you. Are you a good parent? As we go into this lockdown session, especially everybody around Europe, I think it's becoming normal. In Kenya the other day, you've been called into lockdown. Take this opportunity to actually bond with your family and children. And of course, for those who are long distance parents, who I know most of you are watching either because you are away because of work or family commitments, I want to ask you, create time for your children. And for the single mothers, if you have other people that take care of your children in terms of their fathers or something like that, and you're separated, give an opportunity for a relationship, because parenting is not just about being a mother or a father. It's about nurturing a child. And good parenting will give us better future and better citizens. Having said that, Nyokabi, allow me to say it's been real being with you tonight. I appreciate for everybody that contributed to this discussion.
Yes.
Your parting shots, Nyokabi.
Oh, my parting shots would be understand the differences between disciplining and abusing and breaking the spirit of a child. Be present. When your children call you, please answer. It's not always wacha kunisumbua wewe unapenda kuniita. You know, like me when I was growing up and you'd call my mother, alikuwa anakuambia amekupea hiyo jina. Usimuite tena. You say, "Mom, nimekupea hiyo jina." Hata wewe itwa mom. So please today when she calls us, we don't answer. Hata sisi tulimpea hiyo jina akae nayo. So be present in the moment. When the child calls you, respond, even if you're tired. And have conversations with your children. Tell them, you know what, today I'm tired. I had a long day at work. I had a deadline I had to meet. Please excuse me. For today, wacha hata mimi muniserve, si hata mimi munipe maji, hata mimi siniwaite niwatume, and you will have a better relationship with your children. When you express yourself to your children, you're not only giving them an opportunity to learn, you're also teaching them how to have healthy and meaningful relationships, and they begin to understand the dynamics of life. They know there are times you're high, there are times you're low, there are times you're available, there are times you're not available. Instead of just venting out on the child, explain to them why you just are not in the mood of being called 1,000,001 times. You know, like now there's a time I tell them, you know, unless there is blood, do not call me. Unless you see blood, do not call me today. Do not call me. And they understand. It becomes a language of understanding that today is just not the day. Today we sort out our issues without involving anybody else. So when you communicate this to your children, they understand and they respect and they respond properly. Ellie, to you.
Thank you so much, Nyokabi, for coming on the show. And of course, once again, my appeal to our audience and everybody watching this cast tonight, even if you will watch the rewatch or rerun, kindly do your donations on that pay bill number. That is 891,300. And the account is 46172. You can equally go on the website. The link is on that post. And then you are able to pay with other payment options such as PayPal, Visa, and MasterCard, among others. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, tomorrow we are still on from 7:30 p.m. Central European Time, and I'll be talking with Apostle Joseph Omondi. This is a story you need to listen to. This is a story you need to hear, because on Ellie's Hangout, we always give the best. See you next time, Nyokabi. It's been real having you. Have a great night. And of course, for the rest of the viewers, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you. Till next time, adios, muchachos.
Adios.